So your bird comes out. Notice I'm dumping all that juice back into the pan. That juice is flavor, okay? And then more than likely you're going to be baking with a roasting rack. Some people don't have them. Regardless, when you're done cooking your turkey or your chicken, whatever it is, you're going to have this pan, and it's going to have all these different little bits of various things in there. Fond is what the term is in French, actually. So be mindful when you're making your turkey, when you're making your chicken, that the pan you're cooking it on is going to be the pan you make the gravy in. So think about that and think, how am I going to be able to, cook afterwards? If I had a giant saute pan, I would happily cook a chicken in that. But unfortunately, the roasting racks don't fit. But normally normally you see about it's 1.5 inch deep baking pan, and those are just fine. And the thing that you want to do first, because this leftover mixture that's in here is a mixture of fat that has came off the bird, and then you also have a mixture you also have juice that's mixed in with that fat. So obviously gravy has to be thickened, but the thing is, in order to thicken your gravy, you have to make a little bit of a roux. That's your thickener. And in order to do that, roux is made out of fat and flour. So I have water in there. That's not what I want to do. So what I'm doing is, I believe in culinary school it was referred to as clarifying the fat. So on a very, very low heat, this is going to cook, and what it's going to do is going to boil that moisture out of there, and it's going to leave the fat. So when I first had this, it was watery. Now we're getting down to pretty much solid grease there. And all that stuff that's in there, leave all that stuff in there. That's all flavor. That's why you're going to strain it later. No big deal. So when you're ready to make your roux, put your flour in. This is something that you can take all the time you want. So and all you're doing is you're using your flour, and it's going to soak up, or using your fat to soak up all that flour, and then you're just going to get these little blobs of roux is basically what it is. And then if you're someone that's, gluten-free, you would still clarify your fat. You would take about half of the fat out, and then you would add your chicken stock, bring it to a simmer, put your herbs in there, adjust your flavor. Once you got the flavor you wanted it, then you can thicken with your cornstarch slurry or tapioca starch, whatever it is you use at home. So I would say 2 minutes once your roux is started. Don't worry about where these little pieces are or anything like that. It's not that important. So then here, this is just chicken stock, and you're whisking this in here. And one rule that when you make a gravy or pan sauce and you're using roux is you can't have the same temperature. So I can't take this hot roux mixture and add hot stock to it. It's going to want to make lumps. So you want to have your stock cold. So more than likely you're not making your own chicken stock or your own turkey stock. If you do, make sure it sits in the refrigerator and cools all the way down. More than likely you're going to be using a purchased product, which is fine. And I didn't add all my chicken stock because I really don't know, how much this is going to make. So you use enough flour to soak up all the fats, and then you just add enough stock to kind of break it down. And then what's going to happen is before it's on there for long, you're going to see these bubbles start. And you got to remember that when you're cooking with flour, there's a taste that comes along anytime that you thicken with flour, and it's easy to know because it tastes like flour. You cook with flour, but you don't want your food to taste like it. So it needs to simmer for, I would say, about 15-20 minutes. When in doubt, taste it. It's going to tell you what it needs. If it tastes great, you're ready to go. If it's not quite there, then let it go a little bit more. Your consistency is up to you. Some people like a thicker gravy. This is a little bit thick for me, so I'm just letting it down with more chicken stock. And then I like thyme and sage in my gravy. Some people like pepper. you know, whatever you want to do. So it doesn't take long to get this flavor out of those herbs. That's why I didn't throw them in right away. You know, 5, 10, 15 minutes, you know, and after that you're losing flavor. So we have a good consistency there. We have a good color there. And this is something, the longer gravy sits around, the better it tastes. So your bird comes out, get your bird separate. Make your gravy, let your gravy sit. You know, I got mashed potatoes here. We're gonna do that next time because I want this gravy to sit. It's just gonna develop more flavor. So this is a chinois. You can use any type of strainer. I'm just putting that gravy right through there. All those little bits, that's why I said you don't have to worry about all those little bits of everything in the beginning. That's all flavor. It's all flavor. So the main thing we're doing when we're making that gravy is we're watching our consistency. You know, I didn't taste it. I didn't worry about salt and pepper. I was just trying to get the consistency right because you don't want to burn your roux. You know, when you add that flour, 2 minutes, and then you want to add your stock. So now that I got it out, now that my consistency's right, you know, nappe is what we say in culinary school. That means coats the back of a spoon, which obviously you can see that it does that. There's almost a little sheen to that. That sheen is beautiful. That means that your roux was balanced. You know, it's not greasy, it doesn't have a layer of fat sitting on top of it, and that sheen is grease off the turkey, which is flavor. Next time, we're gonna do a few sides. Mashed potatoes. I got some acorn squash. Sweet potatoes, they call them candied yams, but they're always sweet potatoes. So I hope you enjoyed, hope this helped, and keep this in mind for this season, next season. Brine your birds, and follow this step for a gravy, but put your tweak on it. Thank you.